Hi, I'm Kevin,
And I'm Amanda.
and we are serving up.
All that jam. A lighthearted look at the weekend jam bands.
Where we break down the jam scene's biggest stories,
Talk new bands.
upcoming tours,
And show reviews. A little laughing, some hot takes, and an always positive message for the community.
Eric Gould.
All right, we're joined by Eric Gould today. Most notably, we're from Particle and Pink Talking Phish, but now as part of Marble Eyes. Someone mentioned Marble Eyes to me, Eric, and I threw it a one and I was like, wow, good harmonies, strong songwriting, great melodies. What's going on here? You want to talk a little bit about the origin of the project?
Oh yeah, happy to. This band was born of a silver lining out of the pandemic. So it's so interesting because my history with in live music and just in music in general started off with Particle, where we were focused on original music. A couple covers got thrown in there, but the nature of our show, it wasn't very often. Then I moved out to Kansas City in 2008 and just gotten some pickup groups for fun and actually started playing other people's music for the first time in many years. And I was like, wow, this is just amazing. This is so fun. And from there, took the newfound love of tribute and formed Pink Talking Phish. And you open a door, be prepared to walk through it. The band has done so well and taken me on quite the ride. But during that time, I've been so busy with it, I didn't have time to cultivate my original music. And during that time, I was learning the songbooks of Pink Floyd, Talking Heads, Phish. I had all these ideas. It was kind of like Karate Kid, wax on, wax off mentality of like learning all these things about and all these ideas about different styles of music and songwriting and all of this. But I didn't have any outlet to put it into original music. And I always tried, but just life got in the way, just too busy. And it took the pandemic. 2020 happened, all live music stopped. The guitar player from Marble Eyes, he and I had been threatening to play music together for close to 5 years. And it just never happened. He lived 20 minutes away from me at the time. It's the summer of 2020, pandemic. I give him a call. I'm like, dude, I just want to play music with somebody. How about come on over? I had a home office and a detached garage I made with a PA setup. I brought it outside. He brought over Max Chase, a keyboard player. They had been playing, and the three of us had a session. And we picked some covers to learn just for fun, and we just really were compatible, and vocally and just within our instruments. And we showed each other a few original songs, and that was all compatible. It was like, wow, here we are. Like, this is something. So Adrian Tramontano and I have been friends and in the circuit together for a long time. I was also manager for his band Kung Fu for a while too. So I always had it in mind that when the time came for original music, I wanted Adrian to be a part of it. And so it's funny because Adrian was at his own crossroads. I think like maybe a day or two before I called him about this, he was, like we all were freaking out about the pandemic and what was going on. Like maybe music isn't for me anymore. Maybe I got to move on. The next day I'm calling him like, hey, take a drive over here. Let's play some music with me. Let's maybe finally start an original group together. He's like, okay. And so excuse me, once the four of us got together, it just fit like a glove. And what wound up happening is the cork popped really for all of us, particularly Mike Carter, the guitar player, and I. We went, the two of us write most of the songs and then we realize them together as a group. Max writes a smaller amount of songs, our keyboard player, but his songs are just freaking incredible. And together, over the course of about a year, we wrote over 70 original songs together. We just went for it. And it was just, the creative juices were flowing. It was a huge, just inspiration during a time where inspiration within art was so hard to find. And so that was the birth of it. Fortunately, up in New England area, there were some drive-in shows popping up, some pod shows popping up, and we were actually able to perform some of these songs live. And then we recorded an album, and now we just released our second album, and life is back to where it was now post-pandemic, and we're all busy again. But we also have this gift that is Marbleized.
So you saw you did it. My next question was going to be: did the first album? Did any of the songs get road tested? So I guess the songs that ended up on the album, you did actually get to play live before you laid them down.
Yeah, we had done not a lot, but a handful of live shows. There's only so many you can do. The band at the time, I was living in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, and that's where Mike and Max, guitar and keyboard player, live as well. They live in that area, so the band is technically a Seacoast, New Hampshire band as far as its roots, but also Boston counts as well within there. So there was a couple different outdoor scenarios. There's a classic venue called the Stone Church that opened its arms up to us, and that was amazing. They built an outdoor stage and fine-tuned it over the pandemic. It was great. There's another amazing promoter in the Portsmouth area who created right in the center of town this pod-based concert series. So we were able to do that. We ran around and did a couple other outdoor things. We did one in Cape Cod. We did some others too. But yeah, and then and so that was all like a lot of those shows were before we recorded the first album. So we did get to, we wound up recording, I think, about 16 songs, and 14 of them made it onto it. It's a thing, like we all come from jam band roots, but our songs, we have some jam vehicles, but we are very focused on the song, on the melody, on the vocal harmony. You have a lot of jam bands out there that rock. We're more a rock band that jams.
Right. I thought you were going to say the thing no one ever talks about is that most jam bands should not be singing.
Well, I'm not gonna say we're the best vocalists out there, but we do work hard to try to be creative with our vocals. And we have 3 different lead vocalists in the band, and I love that about it. It's like kind of in the spirit of the band, and or like Gomez, like, you know, like bands like that. And we also really love to harmonize together.
Right. Now, you guys work on that. You have to work on that harmonizing, right?
Well, if the harmonies don't work, it's awful. So yeah, if you're gonna put it out there, you better do it well, right?
Well, that's beautiful. That's the beautiful thing. You know, I got hints of a little bit of you know, like Crosby, Stills, Nash kind of things. You guys were finding really cool spaces, and like you said, you don't necessarily write jam songs. You write songs that are allowed to be open up, and the songwriting is so strong. You said that you'll come with an idea, or Mike will. You two bring them together, you flesh it out and take it to the other guys. Is that the process?
Yeah, generally someone comes in with a skeleton and vocals and the vocal melody. Sometimes vocals change slightly, but for the most part, we're coming in with a nice body of the song. We really haven't been the kind of band that just sits down, okay, let's just all write a song together one day. That's not the way it's been working. It's just a bunch of songwriters who bring in their tunes. And then when I say the term realized, I'll use myself as an example. I'll oftentimes have a lot going on in my head, but I also know and believe that you're the best when you're an extension of your experts. I'm not going to think of a drum beat the way that Adrian Tramontano is going to do that. Same, I'm not going to have a Rhodes, you know, comp the way Max Chase is gonna. He's brilliant with the Rhodes, and but I will, as a bass player, have nice bodies of songs. I will think about melodies, and I'm also I'm also a lyricist, and so I do come in with those. But what'll happen, and these guys still to this day make fun of me like crazy, and I just own it. But I'll give them a demo that's just bass and vocals. And the first time they listen to this thing, they're like, "Oh my God, what is happening here?" Because it's ridiculous. It's just a bass,
It
like
sounds like Psycho
rudimentary
Killer.
bass, so that like the form is known, and then the vocals on there. And then once we get together and we start going, and I start directing it a little bit, then they're like, "Oh, okay," and then it all it just comes together and blends in. But it's pretty funny the nature of how that goes.
Have you always been a vocalist? The first 5 years, 6 years, what, of Particle, all instrumental, right?
No,
And
I've
then
not always been a vocalist.
okay,
Particle, yeah, for part of more than that. From basically, yeah, from 2000. I guess you're right. You know math, the calendar of Particle better than I do at the moment right now. Yeah,
I
I
was
think
just reading it online.
we didn't add our vocals till about 2006, and even then it was slim. Particle was more of an instrumental band, and even when there was singing, I didn't do much. It was when I moved to Kansas City and started getting in some pickup acts, I started singing more, and then with Pink Talking Phish, I started singing more. And now with Marble Eyes, I sing more than I ever have. And the other thing that's fun is I've been writing songs for other people to sing too. And so Max Chase has a very unique voice. I love it. And there have been songs I've written that have been for him to sing lead on, or I've written songs where each of us take a verse and we harmonize the chorus. And that stuff's been really fun to do.
So the first album, you said what, you recorded 16 songs, and then how much of a gap was there between that and when you decided to pull the second one, to start the
We
second
got
one?
into the studio relatively soon after we released that album. The post production took a while. We weren't in a super rush for it to come out for album number two. Album number two has a great story to it. The beginning of 2021, the pandemic was still in effect, and we were given an amazing gift of I had the idea to do a live stream series like lots of bands were doing, and I reached out to nugs.net, and they agreed, because it was like a new band, new music in the pandemic. It was a nice story. They agreed to host the live stream series. We called it Marble Eyes Mondays. Every other Monday between January through April of 2021, we played a 2-hour concert every other Monday. And so we did a nice handful of those. The venue in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, called the Press Room, they opened up our doors, their doors for us. We basically set up shop there. We're the only band in there. So we kept all our gear there for those months. And they have, they're partnered up with a production company that was test driving live stream gear at their venue. And so it worked out that they were able to facilitate the live stream as well. So it was awesome. And we took it as an opportunity to debut new music every other week. And originally we were thinking maybe it'd be like a song and like one original, one cover, if that, or just one thing. But there were some weeks that we debuted 4 or 5 different things because we were just flowing on it. It was wild. It was so cool the way that this was going. So album number 2, we wound up taking it's a 9-track album, and every song was written during that live stream series. And so there were more than 9 songs written, but we chose all songs from there. So that had a nice concept. We went out, our guitar player, Mike Carter, his family runs a summer camp up in New Hampshire. So we wound up creating a studio up there, and we had an engineer, and we recorded up at his summer camp. So that was a blast. That was in the I would say probably the fall of 2021 that happened. So yeah,
So
it's great.
the songs from the live stream, were they in addition to the 70 original that you had pulled together, or are you still pulling from that?
That was still part of like the first year because we started in the summer of 2020. So we were still in it doing that. Yeah.
Right. So you got to still have a bunch of songs. Are you playing songs live now that have not made it onto an album yet?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we are. And we're looking forward to continuing to record. You know, it's these songs are meant to be studio tracks, so many of them that they really are. It's just nice to realize them. And we want to do that as much as possible. You know, we're a young band out of the pandemic. We're still growing a fan base. We because we're all really busy. I mean, up until recently, Adrian was cranking it out there with Twiddle. They just took a break now.
Right.
I'm a tour horse with Pink Talking Phish. You know, the other guys have their projects as well. And so with Marble Eyes, we're not playing a ton of shows, but when we do, they're extremely meaningful.
Right. Now, would you want to make Marble Eyes the primary vehicle as Pink Talking Phish? I guess Neighbor is splintered off from that. We have Marble Eyes splintering off from that. Would you want to see Marble Eyes become a month-long tour vehicle?
I would love for Marble Eyes to go as far as it possibly can. It's such great songs and it's such feel-good music that the more we can share it with the world, the better. I've learned in my years in the music industry not to try to rush anything, and you know, each entity is going to happen as it does, and you know, we put our energy into it, and as that happens, it'll happen. You know, I love Pink Talking Phish, and it will, as far as I'm concerned, it'll always be a part of my life. And as of right now, it's a major tour horse, and that's a good thing. It's great to get that music in the unique way that we present it out there.
I love it. I read, if I'm totally off base, blame it on the internet, that part of the reason for leaving Particle was you wanted to focus more on your family, and the touring was not compatible with that. Now you've had the time, and I guess you're getting back to where you're like, yeah, I can do the touring thing again. The kids are older, and
there's a lot of irony to what happened there. I, this is funny. It's just always makes me laugh whenever I say it. Our keyboard player for Particle, Steve Mollitz, he was on the road with Phil Lesh for starting in 2008, and we gave Blessing for a tour, which turned into over a year worth of time. And Particle still played, but it was more picking up the scraps around it. During that time, I had also been wanting to get into something instead of not instead of, but as well as music, just out there touring, and both the Particles drummer and I both got into some other businesses, and it was great. It was refreshing, and it's a piece of my life still to some degree. A lot of that stuff has moved into me managing acts as well. So, but when it was finally time and Phil got a new lineup, Steve came back, and Particle used to be a tour horse band that would like perform 8 to 10 weeks at a time. And during when he came back, he wanted to get right back to that. And I was just about to become a father, and so was our drummer, Darren. And I said to them, I'm like, Particle needs to do this. I just can't go with you like that. I don't know what being a dad means as far as the compatibility of being a touring musician. So I can't commit to that. But so it was very friendly what happened within there, because my drummer, Darren, he felt the same way. And we just had a very amicable way of getting some other musicians into Particle and letting them do that. The funny thing is, I had the idea for Pink Talking Phish at the time. I was like, oh, you know, I'll just, you know, geek out on these set lists and have some fun. And you know, I'll perform it live when I perform it live. But like I told you earlier, open a door, be prepared to walk through it. You know, it's, you know, the thing all of a sudden it blew up, and you know, a little time off the road. And I realized that in the end, when you're musicians who are able to tour the country, tour the world, build fan bases and do it successfully, they're given a gift. And that gift is important. It's really important because it spreads so much joy to the world within there. I was actually just I just played some shows with Phish's horn section, the Giant Country Horns. And there was a woman who, a friend of mine just sent me this video, this woman who came out to our show. She's battling cancer, stage 4. And some friends went and scooped her up and brought her to our show in Vermont. And she had such a blast. And she spoke about it a little bit while she's, rolling through the hardships, that she's doing and the battle that she's doing. She's doing everything possible to live her best life. And live music is what she chose. And we've all been talking about it the last couple of days since then. And it really is live music and us being the vessel for that. It's such a gift, and it's a charge for us to go out there and to give that gift back to the world, to spread that joy, to give, there's people who view it as a religious experience. There's people who just go out there and forget about their life and just have fun and lose themselves in the moment. And those are those few moments they choose to do that. And that stuff is huge. And when I had that brief moment of maybe I'm going to be off the road, I immediately realized that I am who I am. It's what I'm meant to be. It's what I'm meant to do. And then the people and the music spoke for me on that and reinforced the decision when the response to Pink Talking Phish was so strong. And the only thing I was missing during that whole ride, those first years of Pink Talking Phish, we're 10 years as a band now, was being able to cultivate original music. And so I'm so thankful that Marbleize is happening now and that I have that outlet to be able to not just do this unique blend of tribute and originality through Pink Talking Phish, but to also really put out my ideas and my amazing bandmates' ideas and put them out together and have that happen.
So 3 separate things. You have the Jamtronica, you have the cover band, you have the rock and soul music. How do you, as a bassist, make your authentic voice heard through these maybe on the surface disparate musical types?
Well, it's natural. If you listen to all of the music there, it's all me. One thing, I mean, with Particle, I developed a sound. And Particle, even though it's live-tronica, it like bands like New Deal and Soundtrap Sector 9, they, when it comes to live instrumentation, they were extremely dedicated to emulating producers' electronic music. Mm-hmm. Particle was always a rock band that fused the live-tronica into it. We were the most rock band out of all of those bands within there. But we also, and our time touring with Mickey Hart, we really cultivated the term, but it was, just trance. We were always on it, but just locking in on that groove and letting not just the melody makers, but the whole entity just let it blossom in its own time. And that was a big spirit of what Particle was. Within that, my tone was whatever I wanted it to be. And I created this very round, deep, thick tone within my bass that wasn't like punchy. It wasn't like, I'm not like O'Teal or Victor Wooten slap kind of guy where I have that real high end tone. It's more that deep, rich. So if I'm just locking in on a smooth bass line, it's really deep in there. And when it moved into Pink Talking Phish, I had 3 different acts to pay attention to within there, and my pedal board changed within it just to create some sounds along that. But it's interesting because with PTF, where we all are respecting and honoring the songs and the spirit within it, we're also have found a way to continue to be ourselves. And I'm not trying to recreate Mike Gordon's tone or Roger Waters' tone or anything like that, but I'm able to still honor the music within my way of doing so. And sometimes there are recreations, but most of the time it's just mine. And so with Marble Eyes, I feel like Marble Eyes is the accumulation of everything that I've done so far within the sound that's been created, which is so great because, there's the song aspect of all of these great songs that I've been learning through Pink Talking Phish, but, put into our own voice. There's also Mike Carter comes from the Disco Biscuit family. So he and I are both into the live-tronica trance kind of feel within our jams. And Adrian can do anything and everything, and he does. He loves that stuff as well. And so we've been able to, when we've gotten, there's some songs that Mike wrote that are full live-tronica jams within there. So we get to do some of that stuff that was from Particle. And it's great because there's some tones that come up that are throwback for me and things like that. And that's been really nice.
Very nice. So you mentioned Hydra. Can you tell the story of how you ended up playing with Mickey Hart?
Mick wanted to get in. He was getting into taking some sounds of his that because he has he's very involved with Library of Congress and recording music and archiving it. And he was taking things like pygmy chants and looping them and experimenting with that. And he was looking for a live instrumentation, trance style group to team up with. And he came out and checked us out and enjoyed what he saw. We went up to his spot in Northern California and had some sessions, and we wrote some songs, and it was so great. It was one of the coolest writing experiences I've ever been a part of. We took some of his loops that he had done. So let's just use the pygmy chant as an example. He had this loop going on from these this tribe, and he would play it and we would play over it and create some music, and then we'd take the chants out, and that was the song. And that's how we wrote a good handful of those songs. And it became something really unique because it started off, it was almost like this loop track for inspiration. And we were fully expecting it to just be in the track. So we were just rolling with it. But then when he took it out, we're like, really? Are you serious? Because that's pretty cool. It's like, yeah, but this is going to be much more natural and real. And it was. And it was great. And it was fun because during the live show, he would throw them back in every once in a while when we played and stuff. And just do a nod to the process within there. But yeah, we had a great time with Hydra. It's just a blast.
It's fun. It's very interesting little, Mickey's done some crazy things. He had the group with Jen Durkin and Mike.
Sure.
So you're another bass player along with Mike playing with them there. Let me ask you about being a manager. How did you change from being the guy on stage to the guy behind the stage?
Well, I'm one of the very few, I think, out there that's been able to sustain that. I know lots of musicians have tried their hand at also managing acts, and yeah, there are a few who still do, and there are some who got out of performing who are just managers now too, out there. It's worked for me during that time I was telling you about earlier when I was looking for something not instead of, but as well as music. I got into the financial sector for a while, and I was working with different variations of financial planning and venture capitalists and different things like that. And so I learned a lot just about the nature of business and how different styles and sizes of businesses work. And it was very, very revealing and a great brain dump chapter of my life within there. I learned a lot. And when I came back, and I formed Pink Talking Phish, I decided to see what would happen if I managed it. My booking agent, Mike Weinstein, is also one of my best friends in the world. And he helped build it with me. And we were college roommates. So we were been friends since before business. And so this whole entire time, have built this thing together as best friends and brothers and partners within there. So it's been a really special thing within that, to be able to do that, and to be able to have a trust that goes beyond business. And so we've done that. And so it was successful, it worked out well. And I'm not going to presume to say I'm the best manager out there, but I think I've done a decent enough job. And it's been fun doing it. I've managed a few other acts besides my own and moved them forward. But at a certain point, I took a step back from that because it was just a little much between juggling the artist and the management piece on having too big of a roster within there. So right now, the only groups that I manage are the ones that I also am band leader for within it. And I feel good about that. So
the most important thing as someone who's not in a band that a manager can do for us, the rest of the world, is just answer the emails.
Communication is very important. And you know what, as a manager out there who's pitching other acts to other agents and managers, I know the ones out there who get back right away and really appreciate them. Yeah. There are people out there who are avid communicators, and it's great because non-communication is a form of communication. It absolutely is.
It is. We tried to get I have a YouTube channel called Wook Plus, and over quarantine we tried to get Bruce Hornsby to come on. We used to do a show called The Lot before dinner and a movie, and we just hung out and drank for 3 hours live before Phish did dinner and a movie. And Bruce Hornsby's manager got back to me the next day, and he's like, "We appreciate it, but Bruce probably wouldn't be able to do that." But I love that the man got back to me the next day. Same thing with Christopher Cross's manager. Got back to me. He was like, "Christopher doesn't do podcasts, but thank you for, and then sometimes maybe it's just, I guess a lot of times bands are managing themselves, which I feel like is a mistake sometimes, because it's very easy to become lazy when it's yourself, I think.
The way I look at it is this. I would gladly hand over my projects to a manager if they have as much dedication, passion, and knowledge as I do, or more. And so that's sort of where it is within that for my acts. I would love to team up or pass it off, given the right circumstance. Based on, I don't know if I'd ever fully let go of Pink Talking Phish, because that's definitely like a baby of mine within there. But partnerships these days are so important, and to be able to have other respected professionals on the team is such a great thing. It really is.
Right. Yeah, Greg Knight is who I heard about you guys from.
Nice. Greg's great.
Yes, Greg is a great guy. We got in a lot of trouble the last time Goose played the Met in Philly. I ended up in the friends and family section because I know Matt Bush, and his girlfriend gave me a ticket. And so Greg and I are sitting there talking away while Goose is playing, and all these people just kept giving us dirty looks. I was like, sorry, I haven't seen him in forever. Going to hell. All right, let's talk about the industry a little more, since you know that. You've been around since when physical CDs existed. Sure. Now things do not. You've seen it completely change from what it was when you just started. You got any thoughts?
I'm looking right now, I'm looking that way, at it's 5 full boxes of Marble Eyes' first CD. And, you get that deal in bulk that's the same amount of money as if you just do a small print. And, I'm sure any other musician that's recorded an album and done CDs in the last 5 years or more has the same, it could say, oh, I have that same exact thing going on. And yeah, it's just crazy how this has gone. And, it sucks because not everybody prints vinyl, even though that's, I guess, the thing these days, like that people want to use as the collector's item within there. But there is that artwork that can be beautiful within there, even on the CD jackets, especially on Digipack or something like that.
Yeah.
But we made the decision with Marbleize for our second album to not print any CDs. It's just all digital release at the moment. When we're feeling it, we'll do a vinyl push or something like that. But it's just interesting how things change like that.
Have you thought about cassettes?
I had this idea when I was managing Kung Fu. I don't think anybody's done it yet, but we were releasing something called Ninja Cuts for their album, where instead of an album, we were just releasing singles because that's all anything is anymore now in the digital age. And we didn't wind up doing it, but what I wanted to do was at the merch table sell the singles just on little thumb drives, but have it in a single casing, within there. And it would have been fun. We didn't wind up doing it, so someone's going to grab that idea now that I just said on your podcast and do it, and all power to them. But but it's a fun thing.
Jim Cotta, their last album, Bonfires, 10 months, 10 singles. Then they released the album on the 11th month, and they got 11 months worth of their name out there.
Sure.
From doing that.
Yeah, there's a bunch of bands doing it that way now.
Yeah. There's Scott McMicken, used to be with Dr. Dog. Has something called Press On Records that's an all cassette label, and there's a band called Taper's Choice out in LA that do everything's been released. Well, actually, they released vinyl 2 months ago, but before that, everything had been on cassettes, and I find it fascinating. I have probably 500 cassettes in the basement and no cassette players, so that's the issue.
Yeah, I got all my Phish tapes down there. I won't get rid of them.
What do you do with them? And I took all the CDs at one point and just put them in sleeves. So now I have like 4 boxes full of just piled CDs.
The CDs I don't care about. The tapes, I put love into that back then. It was, trading wasn't easy back then, back in the early 90s, and like it was like getting those tapes and acquiring them, and as the new shows happen, finding out, getting them as soon as you can. I wish people these days who didn't know about that could go back in time and just experience that process.
Like you finally get a good tape that no one else has, so you can trade and get like 10 other things.
Yeah, it was such a ride. It was such a fun game. And so I won't get rid of my Phish cassette collection. Like, I hand wrote the set lists and like in major detail, and it's just awesome. So good.
That's fantastic. So obviously you like Phish. What would you say that like some other stuff that influences who you are would be?
As far as musical acts go?
Music. With music.
I'm a huge U2 fan. Might turn off a few people here saying it, but you know what? I was just talking to a great friend of mine, Annabelle, who works at Cloud9 and many other things. And she and I both saw U2 at Sphere recently. And so we were geeking out on that. And she said it best. U2 is the soundtrack of our lives, at least for our generation. And I think that U2 and Phish live music, when it comes to a live music show and the combination of live music and multimedia, they are my two by a landslide favorite acts that have ever been out there. What U2 did with Zoo TV tour and Pop Mart tour back then, back in the late 80s, early 90s, they reinvented what a live music show was, and paved the way towards bands like Tool and Nine Inch Nails and things like that are just revolutionizing with this generation right now.
Zoo TV, I was in like the 9,000 section, as high as you could be at RFK. but I tell you what, it felt like Bono was singing to me.
Yeah.
That's his magic.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, the Sphere show I saw, when he was talking, it felt like he was right in front of me, and I was up in the 300 section. It was
That's
like,
that new system, the new sound system in there,
it's
huh?
incredible. It's absolutely incredible. Yeah, but U2 really did it. U2 is huge for me. There's a band. As far as a bass player, it's funny. I'm not always like super inspired by bass players. I more hear my bass lines like over other music that I'm inspired by. But there's this one band called Samande that is funny. Back in, I think it was like 1989, I turned like everybody I know onto. Cymande. They've recently had a little bit of a revival. And that's actually thanks to Particle's old manager, who helped bring them back and help them create this documentary, because they're this reggae British funk band out there, and the bass lines are butter. They're just amazing, and the sound, it just has this amazing world, but not classic world beat, like kind of thing to it. It's incredible. And what's nice is so many hip hop bands, like classic hip hop, use them as samples when nobody knew what they were. And it's all coming out now, like with this documentary and with it. So it's really nice. Somebody actually went up on Jam Cruise last year. And so now the jam scene knows about them, which is nice.
Are they getting paid for all their samples?
What's that?
Are they getting paid for their samples?
I certainly hope so, and would assume so. So yeah, those are there's some acts that I love right there.
So can you give me a review of the Sphere? I mean, like, what was it actually like being in there, and how was U2's? I mean, obviously, I'm sure they're set rock, but
it's one of, if not the most incredible concert experiences I've ever had in my life. It's and I knew it would be from the moment I heard it was being built. You know, there's those moments like those firsts out there. The first Bonnaroo, right? That I don't know if you were there or not, but the energy that was there on that revolutionized what festivals were within there in a different way than anything that had happened to date. There are firsts like that. This was a first in the way that it revolutionized multimedia with a live music show, and the nature of how they designed the sound, of how they utilize the screen. And I'm not going to talk too much about what the show was, because words don't even hold a candle to what it actually is out there. All I can say is, if you are a fan of integration of music and multimedia, you have to experience this. It is a must. And it blew me away in, even though I was expecting to be blown away, it blew me away in ways I didn't even realize it would. So
now U2 did the same set list every night. What are your thoughts on how Phish can incorporate improvisation and not doing the set list every night with utilizing that? It would seem to me that you would have to program everything. You'd have to know beforehand what you were doing.
I came out of the U2 show thinking about what Phish would do. I saw him back on November 1st, and so it hadn't been even close to announced, but the rumor was there. And it was obvious that they would eventually be playing with their history with Madison Square Garden. But I was just wondering, I'm like, man, this whole entire show that I saw with U2, every song told a story. You know, sometimes it wasn't like an in-your-face story. It was like this emotional feeling that was part of the story. That's what U2 does. And it's one of the things I love most about them. But everything was intent. Everything mattered. And sometimes it was the holy shit visuals, like that just like completely blew you away. And sometimes it was very reserved and pinpointed in a great way. Sometimes it was highlighting the band. Because you're so far away from the band, but like you have this giant screen and it would show these 4 boxes of them. And that was really cool in itself too. But I came out thinking, like, do I even really want to see an improvisational band in this venue? Like, I'd probably rather see like Lady Gaga or the Rolling Stones or like something like that where the songs all have certain meanings, certain themes within there. But then again, I trust Phish completely. They've never steered us wrong as far as their innovation, their artistic innovation goes. And
you think
what
like
I
a Pink
think
Floyd. A Pink Floyd would be good there because the
it would
songs
be the
are
best.
what they.
It would be incredible. But I trust Phish. And what's going to happen, I think that, I mean, they've already announced there's going to be no repeats in the 4 shows. They've also announced that it's going to be a show that's unlike anything they've ever seen, that anyone's ever seen Phish do. My hunch is that they're not going to go out there without a set list like they normally do.
Right.
They're going to have set lists. They're going to have their time, like maybe certain jam vehicles can mix and match or whatever. But I think that they're going to take an opportunity to design visual around certain songs that are a certain point in the set list for each night. I think that that's going to happen. I think they're also going to get creative with improvisation. It's Phish. There's going to be 20-minute improv jams. And so, I don't think it's going to be trite within there. I think they're going to create something that Chris and whatever projection team is there with them can jam with the band on. I think they're going to figure something out, and that's going to be great.
I figured that they would write a whole set list out because there's obviously you're going to want them to do a split open and melt. I mean, there's some songs that I feel like just completely lend themselves to something like that. But I think like what I guess you were implying is they're going to say, all right, we're going to do Tweezer tonight, and it's going to run about 19 minutes. So they know at 17 minutes to try to steer Tweezer towards whatever the next song is because that's how it's been blocked off in production.
Yeah. We'll see. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if outside of the improv, it's not transitional into something else. I think there will be transitions from song to song that's designed with the visuals, like to counter that. That's my hunch. But at the end of the day, you can think about it in concept all you want. This day and age, and I used to do that all the time. I used to try to, back in the day when I was so vibrant about it all, thinking about what would they play next. So at this point, here I am. My first show was in '93. I just sit back and enjoy the ride and trust that they're gonna take me on a wonderful journey.
Yeah, I'm just happy that I can walk in and see them at this point. Mm-hmm. The first time I saw Phish, someone convinced me to go see an Allman Brothers cover band with them at the 8x10 in Baltimore, and it was Phish. The guy didn't know what he was talking about. So that's how it all started. He actually left after the 3rd song and went to the bar next door, Lushes, to hang out and drink, and I hung out and saw Phish, and we've never really talked since then. It's weird. We went our separate ways. So let me ask you, what's the name of the new album?
Hunting with Comets.
Okay, and what is the single off of it, or do you have a single?
There's a couple singles that we released before. One is called Truth, which is the first track on the album. It's a song that I wrote, like I was telling you before, that Max Chase sings lead on. It's this awesome power rock tune that has a throwback to like 70s rock with its vocal harmonies. Yes, and Journey and bands like Boston, bands like that. And then we have another song that I wrote. I wrote 7 of the 9 songs on this particular one. This one's called It's Your World, We're Just Living in It. And it's more of like fun, upbeat, very percussive tune. It's just a feel-good, good time song. Hunting with Comets, the title is taken off of a lyric of a song called Sunburst, which is probably the deepest and most kind of out there track on the record, and it's a really fun song. And the full line is Gas Giants Hunting with Comets within there.
Okay. Nice. So what's the song when someone says, what is Marbleize? What song are you going to play them?
Oh, wow. Well, there's a song that we named our first album after. It's funny because we rarely play it live anymore at this point. But I just view it as our anthem in a way. It's called Return to the Roses. It's the first track on our debut album. It's the song that we played together, the first one. Mike Carter brought it to the table, our guitar player. And it's the one where we realized that putting our flavor into an original that someone brings in, how good it could be. And I always just go back to that one. It's a real good one. But Truth is also a big one for us. We play it almost every show. And you know the way repertoires go. Like as far as like, I don't think we're there yet as a band where we have that one song that's like our anthem or whatever. There's certain songs that different a la how jam band audiences are. There are certain ones who like certain flavors and feels more than others, you know? And so there's a song called Broken Road that people really love. Another Mike Carter song. And it ends, it's a nice jam vehicle, even though it's only 3.5 minutes on the album. It's on our first album, Return to the Roses. But it winds up ending with a drum solo, and Adrian crushes it every time. What I love about that drum solo is we become his metronome. It ends with all of us sinking in to this riff that starts the song, this bum 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 bum, and we just lock in on that. And Adrian can lose time, go wherever he wants. We're his metronome on it, and I love doing that. I love just like knowing that we got him, and he can just go wherever. And you let Adrian go wherever he wants, and he goes far. So it's great.
So who writes the set list?
Usually I do, and then we fine tune it together.
Right now, do you have a spreadsheet? Do you like try to keep track?
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm a bona fide set list geek. It's the nature of what Pink Talking Phish is all about, is writing dream set lists and putting them out there to people. That's what it is. And so. Right. So yeah, I always wrote particle set lists too. It was rare someone else did. I love the art of the set list. Right. It's one of my favorite things in music.
What size pool of songs do you work with for Marble Eyes?
Probably out of I would say right now, like 85, 90 tunes that we have. We're probably working. It depends on how many, sometimes we're coming in and just doing 1 or 2 shows at a time during for a long period of time, in which case we have a smaller pool. If we just did a good handful of shows for our record release, and we were focusing a lot on the album songs, but we would throw in a bunch of others. We probably had maybe like 30 or 40 of them going.
And when are we going to see you playing again?
We don't have a show for the rest of the year. I think Marble Eyes, because we just finished a good run of shows. And I know we're playing again in April. I'm hoping we're going to have more before that in the first quarter. All right, well, so we're working on it right now.
We're going to keep everybody updated on that. Thank you so much.
If you are enjoying All That Jam, please like and subscribe to our social media channels at All That Jam Pod on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, or visit our website, allthatjampod.com. Make sure to sign up for our email list and tune in every week for new episodes.
Also, look for full interviews on our YouTube channel. And remember, stay beautiful, but don't stay underground too long.